All right.
Sula.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. Would you all join me in a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
the
to the
republic which
for which
stands one nation under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty,
with liberty and
for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. Always hard to do with remote meetings. Thank you all. At this time, we'd like to set a public hearing for the final budget.
Next meeting,
Yep.
September.
And we'd like to, do we need to have a motion?
But it's not clear, when is it going to be?
It's the next meeting.
It's at the September board meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I move approval.
Thank you, trustees Mallory and Biggin. Cynthia, would you mind calling the vote?
Carol Matthews,
Yes,
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
I believe that was a yes. You might want to turn on your microphone, don't forget.
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, everybody. At this time, we'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we're gathered today is unceded territory of the Wiyot people who continue to live and thrive on this land. It is surrounded by the traditional, ancestral, and present homeland of several indigenous nations, including the Hupa, Karuk, Matol, Tolowa, Wailaki, and Yurok that make up Humboldt and Del Norte counties. This time, we'd like to invite the public, if there are any public comments. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 1.4, member comments. Do any of my colleagues have anything they'd like to share? Oh, well, you're in for it. I went to the grand opening of the Construction Technology Open House. Oh my goodness, you should see this amazing thing. I wish I had more money. They took this very tiny, narrow lot. The house that had been on there had burned, I don't know if completely to the ground, but it had some significant damage there. And what's there now is 1,500 square feet in the main house, 400 square feet of an ADU above a garage. They've maximized this lot. This lot is 38 feet wide. It's super tiny. And they have made all of this beautiful living space there. They've used redwoods, salvaged redwoods. The cabinetry in there is amazing. The counters, everything, every detail. They had Venetian plaster on the wall, these touches. They even took some burlap and did some textured stuff on one of the accent walls in the bathroom. It's amazing, incredible. And the landscaping captures storm drain off and keeps it from going into the cities and flooding the city streets. It just was a phenomenal piece of work, and super proud of the Construction Technology Group. So great that that's happening at our college. Thank you. Anyone else on the phones? All right. We'll move on to 1.5, board committee reports. Short and fast, just the way I like it. 1.6, board requests. Dr. Flamer, anything you'd like to mention?
No, but the three highlighted items will be taken off of the sheet for the September board meeting.
So I had a question on one of those.
Trustee Dorn?
So I appreciate the update on the Garville funding. So when will that be made to the public so they can see that, or the college campus? And then is the board going to discuss this or approve it, or what are we doing with the list?
I will present it, an updated one at the August board workshop or the September meeting, because we are going to reprioritize some items given the one-time money that we just received from the state. And the board doesn't approve the list themselves. However, that I will give the board an information item, but please remember that the board approves actions at the appropriate action item if money is going to be used for a specific project.
So, and since that money essentially is from the bonds, is the bond oversight committee going to look at it at all, or we're just going to not do that?
No, well, we're not going to do that because it's no longer bond money. It's money that the proceeds from the sale of real estate. And the bond committee, the bond oversight committee doesn't have purview over the proceeds, just the board does on ideas on how to use the money, but also the allocation and the approval of projects.
But the sale of the real estate was caused by the bond. The bond money was used to buy that building. I just am concerned. I don't think this is really what the taxpayers planned on or what the taxpayers are due, but that's just my opinion.
Point taken.
All right, anything else related to 1.6? This moves us into the consent calendar. Would anyone like to remove something from the consent calendar before approving?
I move for approval.
Thank you, Trustee Dorn.
Second.
Dr. Mullery, thank you. All right, Cynthia, would you mind calling the vote?
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
Thank you. Wow, we're going record fast here. Got to be breaking some records today. Let's see, moving on to action discussion items. Item 3.1, approve the monthly financial status report. Dr. Flamer?
Thank you. This is the very standard report that the board sees on a monthly basis. The only point of difference that may have interest to the board is the fund reserve was increased slightly. And this goes back to a point that we have made in the past, and that is our budgeting is not a science, it's an art. And so we're still, so the board is going to approve the final budget for the 21-22 year, not even knowing what's the result of the audit that will fund the 2021 and fund reserve. So we're always playing catch up by 1 year. So that's the only difference with this financial report.
I move approval.
I'll second it.
Trustee Biggin. All right, Cynthia?
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
All right, bringing us to item 3.2, approving the pre-qualification list for general contractors. Do you want to have a motion, second, to discuss?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Biggin.
Hey, I have a question, if that's okay.
Sure, we have a second from Dr. Mullery. Trustee Dorn?
No, Trustee Copini.
Oh, Trustee Copini, sorry.
On the pre-qualification applications, how many, they said like 5 of them were local. Did any of those get approved? Did they meet pre-qualification standards?
4 were local, and I would refer this to Vice President Morrison, please.
Yeah, so 4 of the 10 who submitted applications were local, and 1 actually made the list of the 5, and that's Wallace Construction.
Okay, okay. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, comments? All right, Cynthia, do you mind?
Oh, did I get a second?
Oh, yes, it was Dr. Mullery.
Thank you. Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
Right. Moving forward to item 3.3, the Facilities Master Plan Update Request for Proposal Recommendations. Get a motion in a second to discuss.
I move approval.
Great, great. So Trustee Matthews and Trustee Mullery.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions at this time? Right. Cynthia, do you mind?
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Item 3.4, special tests and inspections for the Creative Arts Drop and Replace Project request for proposal recommendation.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Biggin.
A second.
Thank you, Trustee Matthews. All right. Any questions or comments? Item 3.4. All right, Cynthia?
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
All right, 3.5, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning inspection request for proposal recommendation.
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Trustee Mullery. Go first. Trustee Biggin, thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion? Everybody's phones working okay? Right. Excellent. Cynthia, do you mind?
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes. Rebecca
Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 3.6, second read of board policies and administrative procedures. There's quite a few here, I'm imagining, maybe. I know it's the second read, but there might be some discussion. Can we get a motion and a second?
I move for approval.
Trustee Biggin and Trustee Copini, thank you. First and second. Any discussion? Most efficient board ever. Cynthia, do you mind?
Carol Matthews,
Yes.
Richard Dorn,
Yes.
Colleen Mullery,
Yes.
Sally Biggin,
Yes.
Tracy Copini,
Yes.
Rebecca Robertson,
Yes.
Danny Kelly,
Yes.
Brianna Remy.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to our informational reports. Item 4.1, Program Review Committee Executive Summary.
Yes, please. This is Stephanie She was she's the co-chair of the RC.
Okay, you made it just in time. Okay. Thank you for joining us.
So we submitted our report with the agenda, so, basically, if you have questions, I'm here to answer, and George will be here shortly.
Thank you.
If I may add something to this very quickly, is that this is one of the premier actions and processes that the college has. And this has been the foundation of our budget planning and resource allocation process for the last at least 7 or 8 years, and we seem to be even getting better at this every year. So our process has been recognized by the accreditation agency as an epitome type of process. So thank you to George and Stephanie for co-chairing. This takes a lot of work. Thank you.
The one thing I will say is, I just want to put on record, I guess, thank you to the committee, because it is a lot of work, both in and outside of the committee. We meet for 4 hours a month, and it's not uncommon to have, probably 2 or 3 hours worth of homework to review the program reviews, the quality and time that it takes, because the submitters, take a lot of time to do good evaluation and good planning, and so we want to take our time as well.
Trustee Mallory?
President Glaber summarized what I also wanted to say. I really applaud the committee for this really excellent report. Aware of the work that goes into a report like this, and a lot of work. And I'm also aware of the importance of this report. So I just wanted to thank the committee and share my enthusiasm, as President Glaber has stated, for how well done this report was. Thank you for listening to me.
You kind of built it in there, don't you? No one who put this together.
Well, we've been talking about it for many, many years.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Trustee Biggin?
I too really enjoyed reading this report. There's so much substance to it. I was also going to comment about appreciating seeing the committee members and the names and the breadth of the involvement that it represents, classified staff, all staff, faculty, and administration. I needed just a little help in interpreting the graphs, and if we could go to page, the first graph on table 1 and table 2, it's just an example. There's the program information percentage, then the previous plan percentage, and then planning percentages. Now, I'm assuming when I look at the program information percentage, I'm comparing it with previous plans, and I can see the growth that was made.
Not exactly. So this is, it reflects each column in those charts. So I think it's like program mission, program indicators, reflection on previous plans. I might be missing some. I think there's 5 altogether. They actually are associated with a tab in the actual program review document. And so basically, each one of those reflects a scoring in the tab in their report that they wrote. So they're not actually comparable in that sense. I think it's Appendix E has the year-to-year comparison. And so that's where you'll see what happens year-to-year. So like, the planning actions will get compared to planning actions from the previous year. The program mission will get compared to their performance in the program mission. And I believe the full program reviews are an outward-facing part of the CR website. So if you had questions or wanted to see how certain programs were doing, I think once the year's been completed, it shows up with our comments as well that we give back to the authors.
On that same page, I highlighted a comment which I appreciated, that the areas that you're describing, how their programs support the mission of the college, and I appreciated that's one of the lenses that is being used. And then on the next page, there was, under math, there was a comment about the review offers a number of specific planning actions, including one that could remedy equity gaps in this program. What would be an example of an equity gap that they might have been looking at?
equity gap would be like, you're looking at, say, Math 15, the statistics class, and you notice that a disproportionate number of such and such group is not successfully passing the class. And if it's one of the defined equity groups, then that's an equity gap, right? So, AB 705 just corrected all that. We literally, it just wiped it away. The gap went away because the pre-collegiate sequences were kind of like equity trapped, right? And with math, I think there's a little more nuance. So with AB 705 eliminated the pre-collegiate stuff in math, but there are still some persisting equity gaps. And so, I mean, it's a great, program review is a great place for areas to come up with plans, implement them, and then see if they work.
So those equity gaps were basically, you're looking at various ethnic groups? Or were they
Yeah.
also looking at like, gender or, socioeconomic groups? I don't know if they would really see that. I was thinking of gender, maybe veterans, foster kids.
I think there's, in our equity data, I'd have to look at the tab again, because I've been away from this for a few months, but, I believe there's 6 groups that they look at with the equity data. I don't think veterans are one, I don't think socioeconomic, but I believe, ethnicity, non-native, I think there's 6 that they reflect on.
Okay.
But I will say this, that doesn't preclude an area from asking a question of institutional research, like if they're wondering, you know, how do veterans do in a first-year math class? Like, we don't have that. So the IR can run that data, and then they can put that in the review, and then they can partner with the veteran if they notice any anomalies. But there are some specific, I think the Chancellor's Office kind of dictates the equity groups that we have to look at.
Okay. Another comment that I appreciated seeing was, what I did is I copied this document into my book so that I could mark it up. So I'm not sure what page it is, but it's under Roman numeral 5, Administrative Services Program Review, and it's the second page in. Under Roman numeral 6, Overarching Themes in Program Review. And the Program Review Committee members commend program personnel for moving towards more data-conscious assessment and directly using that to inform programmatic plans. That was just a wow for me to read, because I remembered the old days of accreditation and show cause, and how difficult it was to get that conversation going. And the fact that, you know, we're now able to document it and commend it, just is huge, huge. So, you know, I really want to thank those who have kept that momentum going so that we can document the progress that we've made.
And this year, we've worked a little more closely with the assessment committee. So previously, we had made recommendations like, wouldn't it be great if, you know, we could close the loop a little better in these areas. And so I've been participating on the assessment committee as they've built, for the student services and administrative service areas, more of a timeline for assessment, and sort of codify that a little bit more closely with what they're monitoring, which has typically been for instruction, so.
I think that pretty much takes care of my questions. The Appendix B, you know, those graphs and those columns, you've kind of explained to me maybe, you know, how to interpret them.
Yeah, and you can always shoot me an email if you want to see what it looks like, our templates and stuff, and where we get the information.
I love seeing the rubrics, you know, and seeing how they define the different levels. It was very informative and educational for me personally. Thank you for the opportunity to review it.
Any
So I
other
have
comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. First of all, it's a very well done report. I echo Trustee Mullery and Biggin and probably the rest of us. Very well done. I would like to see more groups like socioeconomic, like what we're talking about, break them down with our institutional research. And I have a question on the committee. Take our hat off to them. I mean, this is so important. So is this pretty much the same committee? Do we rotate? How is the committee formed? As a volunteer? What's the process there?
Most of the appointments are 2 years. There's some that are ex officio, so we have, typically a few people like the assessment chair that are always on there, but then that position also rotates. We do have some long-standing faculty who just really enjoy this committee, and it's a lot of work, and so it's not always one that people volunteer for. So we do have some people who stay a little longer than their 2 years, but, and staff too. CSEA is also on generally a rotating 2-year, as well as the co-chair position.
Thank you.
There's, the committee composition is on the webpage, but also, I think we have this philosophy of anybody who's willing to put the oar in the water and move it, move the boat, is like, we'll take them. Like, we literally, I don't think, turn our meetings.
Yeah, I think
We don't turn anybody away.
extra.
Yeah, because like everybody does a little bit, and then that's how we get this, you know? It's a committee where everybody has a little part of it all the time, and that's what makes it great, you know? I mean, it's been a really good team the last few years, so, for sure.
Trustee Mullery.
Yeah, thank you. I'm reflecting on, trustee Cupini's suggestion regarding socioeconomic, category. And I guess, trustee Cupini, I'm having a little difficulty wrapping my arms around that. I'm afraid that if we really look at socioeconomic, as a category, and if we delve into it, we might be getting into some personal matters of our students that I'm not sure would be appropriate. I could see maybe categorizing based on Pell Grants or something that's, you know, more accessible, but if we start looking at, I don't know, employment or, what else would be socioeconomic, education, sharing, I'm afraid it might get into areas that we shouldn't be delving into in terms of students. There are ways, I think, to capture some of the important information that Trustee Cupini is getting at. Again, I'm having some problems just with socioeconomic as a category.
I like using the categories at the chancellor's office. Then when we compare ourselves to other districts, then, you know, we kind of have some benchmarks that are consistent. I think the chancellor's office really tries to keep those categories up to date and relevant.
What would what do you think that would fit under from the chancellor's office?
Well, he's saying,
Well, where would it fit? I'm not aware of what the current chancellor's office categories are, and I know they sometimes add to those.
There's sort of two issues that with the assessment, is there's one that's, you know, what we require on our annual, our rotating assessment cycle, and then there are some areas that go above and beyond and do answer sort of questions with data through IR that's not necessarily required, just so they can better plan for their program. And I think that wouldn't be inappropriate for maybe an individual part or department to do, but what we mandate through assessment and then the 4-year comprehensive cycle, I don't know if that's where it would fit.
I guess my biggest concern, and you know, bring up good points. It just seems the most economic disadvantage in a lot of cases, they get left behind, you know, and I don't know. And you know, I realize there's grants and so forth, and there's help out there. You know, for instance, even on distance education, you know, do they have a good internet connection? Just a multitude of things, you know. Yeah, I don't know, you know, what it'd look like. It's just a concern because it seems like it's a common thread.
Thank you, Trustee Copini. Any other comments or discussion on this topic? Thank you both very much. Excellent, excellent work. Thank you. And to everyone who participated in this and the hours of work, thank you. Yeah. Right. Item 4.2, the presentation of the Redwoods Community College District's additional bargaining proposal to the CSEA. Flamer?
Thank you. We need to sunshine Article 13 of the CSEA agreement so we can talk about the Juneteenth as an official holiday for the district.
Comments? All right. Thank you. Moving on to our organizational reports. 5.1, Academic Senate. Right. 5.2, CRFO. Wonder if we're going quickly enough that people maybe were planning on coming in a little bit later.
I'd recommend not slowing down.
Item 5.3, classified.
Good afternoon. I am here. I do not have anything to report today. Thank you.
Thank you. Missing. Right. Item 5.4, Management Council. Right. Moving on to item 5.5, Student Trustee Report. Trustee
Hi,
Remy.
also nothing to report today.
Okay, well, welcome. Good to hear you voting. All right. Administrative reports, item 6. 6.1, President Flamer.
Thank you. I want to add a little bit to my written report, and that is we're going to send out a press release tomorrow or Thursday announcing the hiring of Maggie White's replacement as the head softball coach for the district. And her name is Megan Valente, and she's a HSU graduate, and she's recently coached as an assistant coach at Adams University in Colorado. And she is as I mentioned, graduate from HSU, but also she is also coached at Mercy High School in Red Bluff. And she also served for 2 or 3 years as the assistant coach at CR. So we are glad to have her, and over the next couple of weeks, she's going to reach out to all the current softball players and our recruits to get them to enroll and re-enroll in fall semester.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that program spinning up. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments for Dr. Flamer's report? All right. Item 6.2, Ms. Morrison.
The only thing that I have to add to my report is in regard to the COVID-19 debt forgiveness program, and that is that as of this morning, there were 27 students participating in the program for approximately $30,000 in debt that will be forgiven.
Great.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
There were any. Wow, evidence of a well-written report. Thank you. All right, item 6.3.
Thank you for going to look at the house today, and I want to thank Dean Haley for making that opportunity available. And I also want to just add a little bit to that story, because this project project was our most ambitious construction project. It was our first two-story house, our first house with an accessory dwelling unit, our first house that had to fit into a neighborhood that had an existing kind of historical feel and architecture. And so that was a complex project. It was also the first residential project that was a multidisciplinary, multi-division endeavor. So I want to give a shout out to the faculty members who worked so hard to make that project a reality. So on the construction tech side, Derek Glavich, Bert Hafer, and Leonard Beckler did all of the heavy lifting on the construction, cabinetry, all of the finishes. RJ Satava did the electrical and the solar. Natalia Margulies, our faculty member, did the interior design with her Art 15 class. And then from the ag department, Mary Park and Alan Rodriguez did the, Ramirez, did the landscaping to deal with the drainage issues that had plagued that corner lot for many years. So it was an incredible crew of faculty who led the students through that project, and I want to make sure that they're all recognized. And then on the back end, doing all of the purchasing and keeping everything on track was Morgan Solon in the career ed department, and she deserves a lot of credit for keeping everything going and working so closely with Julia's office to make sure that everything's processed appropriately. So thank you for visiting, and it will be open again, I'm sure, if anyone else wants to see it. And I'm happy to answer any questions on my written report.
I have one more other comment. They also did it during a global pandemic.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's terrible. Colleagues on the phone? Thank you.
Yes.
All right, item 6.4. Mr. Slaughter?
Take my mask off for this part. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'd like to thank President Flamer and the 40 or so employees who I've had the opportunity to meet in my 6 days so far here at CR. Everyone has been extremely gracious and welcoming and generous with their time, answering the many questions I have had. My experience at the California Community College system has taught me that it's really the people that make the institution successful. What I have found here so far at CR is that there's a fantastic team of folks that all have students at the forefront of their minds and in their hearts, and we're all sort of working together to make that for student success. There are a number of qualities that I have seen here on campus in the last week and a half that remind me of the things that endeared you college to me. So it's nice to see many of those same qualities here at CR. I have to be part of the team. Thank you.
Welcome. Glad to have you. Trustee Biggin?
Yeah, you know you've only been here for 6 days, but at some point will you get a chance to visit the Del Norte site and the Klamath Trinity site?
Yes, there are a number of places I'm hoping to visit in Del Norte and are certainly on the list. And there's several buildings here on campus I haven't even stepped foot in yet. So I'm working my way through a list of meeting folks and visiting and touring facilities. I'd like to get out to the farm as well. So definitely on my list of fun things to do.
I'd like to share with you that the first week in September in Hoopa, they'll be holding their white deerskin dance, and then it follows by the jump dance. And if you're able to, if someone would be able to go out there, I'm sure they'd like to introduce you to some of the cultural aspects of that community. On the Wednesday of, I think it's the first week in September, when they do the boat dance, that's a really special one to see. And again, it's open to the public. And I'm sure Matthew or someone there on the site would be more than happy to visit with you and help you become more familiar with the community, which really overlaps a lot with the Klamath tribes and along the Klamath
serve in this district. I just wanted to mention that to you, because it only happens every 2 years. So it's an opportunity that you might really enjoy.
Right, thank you, sir. Item 6.5, Dr. Hill is not here today, but you have your report. Item 6.6, Mr. Coelho.
Yes, good afternoon. In addition to what is written in my report, I'd also like to update that the sign welcoming individuals to Tallowwood territory to be posted at the Del Mar campus has been completed. We're working with facilities right now to determine where to install and how to install. And then we are talking about holding a ceremony to recognize the sign and the Tallowwood tribe sometime in September, October, all depending on what the pandemic allows us to do. In addition, I'm currently working with the Public Health Department and with the COVID Economic Resilience Consortium on our next iteration of a vaccine campaign. Due to the latest rise in COVID over the last 2 weeks, there's great concern over getting another vaccine campaign out onto the airwaves. So we are going to be doing that in English and Spanish here in the next couple of weeks. Questions?
I guess I'm raising my hand so that I can call on myself. How has that campaign been informed by how to change belief? I really feel we're way beyond evidence and facts and data at this point. It's more about belief. And so I guess I'm wondering what, if anything, you guys have been able to unlock or research on that.
The various individuals have been doing a lot of research. I think this time around there's going to be a focus on, one, reaching out to individuals who have been recently vaccinated and hoping to profile their stories as to what made them change. Folks that have had an opinion of not getting a vaccine and now getting a vaccine, focusing on facts, not shaming people, and just making sure that everyone is aware of the facts. We're fortunate that we have so many different radio stations in this community people actually listen to. We have local TV, unlike most communities, that people actually watch, and we push it through social media as well. So there are going to be various types of PSAs that are being written and drafted right now, and hopefully some of those resonate with individuals. A lot of it is just a culmination of hearing different messaging combined with fear, unfortunately, over the Delta variant, which actually seems to be moving the marble in terms of vaccinations over the last couple of weeks. So just trying to get people to focus on the fact that our medical systems here in Humboldt County are extremely limited. Indications are currently that they are very stressed, and I don't think that's something anyone in our community would like. And I think everyone, regardless of their beliefs, everyone in Humboldt understands how limited our medical resources are. So hopefully people understand the seriousness right now that we need to get a hold of the Delta variant in this community and get more people vaccinated.
Well, I continue to feel impressed by the work that you're doing to try to bring these conversations to campus. I think we're a fantastic neutral place for these kinds of things, and to educate folks and to have discussions around it. I really appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Right. I guess that brings us to item 7.1. Do we have any requests to discuss? Are we sure folks are online? I guess they are. I'm used to the silence. I feel like I did something to you guys. I don't know.
We're here.
Okay, all right. Didn't know if I had a piece of lettuce in my teeth or what. All right. Well, that is it, and we don't have any items to disclose for closed session, so if there's nothing else, I'd like to adjourn us at 1:46. Thank you.